right now. Today is the day that you choose to change the rest of your life. It is time to turn your setback into the greatest comeback story ever told, and nobody is more capable than you. This is the Ranting Weight Watcher podcast, the future #1 weight loss podcast in the world. I am your host, Donato Russo. I hope you enjoy the show today. If this is your first time here and you enjoy the show, please subscribe and spread the word of the Ranting Weight Watcher podcast wherever you are and to whomever will listen. If you'd like to connect on social media or wherever else, check out my Linktree page, Linktree/the Ranting Weight Watcher. Let's connect today. Hello, everyone. I am back and better than ever. Welcome to the Ranting Weight Watcher podcast, episode 121. If this is your first time here, welcome. Welcome to the show. Well, Happy New Year, everyone. It is good to be back. It's crazy because in spite of my time off, I still saw evidence of growth in the podcast. A crazy number climb in the podcast Facebook group happened on New Year's Eve. We were minutes away before the clock was striking midnight. And I happened to look in the podcast Facebook group, and there was 30 new requests to join the Facebook group that all started from around dinner time. And some of them, minutes away from midnight, were requesting to join then. And all I could think of was, how did they find me? And I've been off for 3 weeks. I guess the reason is unimportant, but it's always fun to analyze and to think about how things happen, you know? And I'm always interested when someone new finds the podcast, how do they find it? And I'd love to hear from you. If you're new to the show, if you found me on New Year's Eve, I'd love to hear from you. You can email the show, therantingweightwatcher@gmail.com. You can send a message through the Facebook group, the podcast Facebook group. And if you didn't know about the other group, the RWW Consistency Challenge, that is a group of individuals. Everyone in that group is seeking consistency in something that they lack in regards to their weight loss journey. Some of them are trying to become consistent in tracking, some of them in exercise, some of them in sleep and water intake, whatever it is. Everybody is chasing consistency in something. And everyone is different from everyone else. And there's over 200 people in there. And they're all supportive of each other. They all post in there for accountability and support. Well, enough of all that talk. Let's get into this! Journey updates. Well, since the last time we really spoke here, I'm just going to recap real quick. The week before Thanksgiving and the week of Thanksgiving were 2 gains, totaling 6.6 pounds. Now this week, this weigh-in, I had lost 1.2, and that completed my quest to lose everything that I gained up to Thanksgiving. So in my last weigh-in, the total lost is 6.8 pounds since that last gain on Thanksgiving. We gained 6.6, we lost 6.8. It's a wonderful thing. Total lost since January 2019 is 157.2 pounds. Total pounds remaining to get to our next milestone, the 175-pound milestone, is 17.8 pounds. And the total pounds remaining to get to our big milestone goal, 200 pounds, is 42.8 pounds. If you're new here, I also have a consistency challenge that I'm working on. I'm currently in week 7 of that consistency challenge. To recap, my goal was to go from 4 workouts a week to 5 consistently, and to have 3 of those workouts consistently be outside walks, and 2 of those workouts to be the indoor walks with Leslie Sansone. So we had failed at this attempt on week 1. Week 2 and 3, we succeeded. We met the requirements. Week 4, we failed. Week 5 and 6, we succeeded. So the original plan for this challenge was to go 6 weeks. But I'm telling you, I'm in week 7 because I don't feel like I've made it yet. And the reason I don't feel like I've made it yet is because it's not automatic. I'm still debating with myself. It's not just the goal of making something consistent is so that you end up doing it without thinking about it. And I'm still thinking about it. And I don't like that. So I decided to continue into week 7, and however many more weeks it takes, I will keep reporting on this until it's so automatic I don't think about it anymore. I wanted to take a moment to reflect. On January 12th, I am approaching my 4-year anniversary with Weight Watchers. So I want to take some time to reflect because we're starting a new year here. I'm going to reflect on each year and whatever I learned in those years. In my first year in 2019, so January 12th, 2019, I started Weight Watchers. And the beginning of that journey started with me approaching the way I eat food differently. In all other attempts to lose weight, my goal was always to work the things I loved into the restrictions of the plan that was created. That was the primary goal. This time in 2019, the goal became find the foods that would be friendly with the plan and find ones that I enjoyed. That was the beginning. Probably the first 3 months of my journey were spent building up a menu plan of things that I enjoyed that were point friendly on Weight Watchers at the time. I soon after realized some things that I struggle with. And one of those things was making choices of what I was going to eat whenever I was hungry. This was a big problem for me. If I didn't already know what I was going to eat, there would be problems. So inadvertently, because of this fear of making a choice when I was hungry, I made it so I was never making it to the point where I was hungry. I was always eating something before I became hungry. And I got very depth in my analysis with this. I would actually write down, I would eat breakfast at whatever time. And then I would write down when did I feel hungry. And then because of this list of foods I've created, I would say, well, what one of these foods can I eat? So let's say I ate breakfast at 6:30 in the morning. And then I started to feel hungry around 11. So the question became, at 10:30, what can I eat out of all of the things I love to eat here that I created? What can I eat at 10:30 so that I'm not hungry at 11? And that's how I began what I call scheduled eating. Even still to this day, here I am approaching 4 years. I eat on a schedule. I don't eat because I'm hungry. Because whenever I wait to the point where I'm hungry, it is never a good decision. By making it so that I'm never hungry, I never am in the position to make bad choices. It's like the same theology when they say never go grocery shopping when you're hungry, because you buy a bunch of crap you didn't intend to buy because you're doing it while you're hungry. So this was what came out of the beginning, the 2019 beginning. I also found balance with eating point friendly items versus high point choices. And how did I do this? I started to say later. Whenever I had a craving for something, I didn't ever say I wouldn't allow myself. I would just make myself wait until the weekend. And why did I choose the weekend? I chose the weekend because I knew that we like to go out to eat on weekends and all of these things. So I said I would make my choices more relaxed on weekends. And I would allow myself to use activity points, weeklies, whatever it is, whatever was necessary to enable me to make unhealthy choices or high point choices on weekends. That's what it became. So on Monday, if I was staring at a piece of chocolate cake, now I'm not a sweet guy, but I'm just giving you an example. If I'm staring at a piece of chocolate cake on Monday, I would say, you can have that on Saturday. Just wait till Saturday. We'll have that on Saturday. And because the idea of, I didn't say no to it, I just said later. It's not that I didn't have it. I still had it on Saturday. As a matter of fact, I made sure that whatever I said I would have it on Saturday, I made it a point so we would go somewhere that I could have those things because that's what I said I would have later. Another wonderful thing that came out of my first year on Weight Watchers was the birth of the realization of how valuable consistency is. And it became because I began to introduce exercise into my life. And this happened when I hit the 50-pound milestone. In August of that year, August 2019, I had lost 50 pounds. And I decided that I would not lose another 50 unless I started to make some changes in my life. Got up and started moving. So that's what I did. I started by saying, I make a commitment to walk 3 days a week for 20 minutes for 6 weeks. I will not make any changes to this commitment until the 6 weeks are up. So that's what I did. I didn't even leave my parking lot. I was too afraid that I would not have the energy to come back. I literally walked out of my house at 4 o'clock in the morning, walked around my parking lot for 20 minutes, came back in the house, showered, got ready to go to work. And I did this 3 days a week. At the end of the 6-week mark, that 20 minutes became 30 minutes. I did that for another 6 weeks. At the end of that 6 weeks, those 3 days became 4 days at 30 minutes. I did that for 6 weeks. At the end of that 6 weeks, the 4 days at 30 minutes became 4 days at 45 minutes. And then it became 4 days at 60 minutes. And then an hour and a half. And now we are on the quest for 5 workouts a week. In 2019, the total weight lost is 63 pounds lost in the first year. In 2020, I found new ways to cope. Because of the disturbance of COVID in my life, I was forced to find new ways to cope. Now, COVID closed our workshops. I was in studio at the time, and they closed our workshops and forced us all to go to virtuals from home. That was in March of 2020. In April of 2020, I started to work from home. We were attending local virtual workshops every Saturday with the same coach that we had going into the studio. Spending all this time indoors led to the return of some bad behaviors, some late night eating behaviors. I decided that I needed to find a new way to deal with this because COVID didn't seem to be going anywhere anytime soon. I found a way to attend workshops in other states that were local to those states. I attended many workshops in California, basically on the West Coast, because of the time difference. I started to attend a workshop a night to get my mind off of eating in the evenings. I had a different workshop I would attend every day of the week. And I met some wonderful coaches. Still, they have a piece of my heart. And they definitely helped me through some of the toughest times I was dealing with. I mean, many people had trouble gaining during COVID. Because of my approach of how I dealt with COVID, gaining was not a problem. And that's one thing I could say I'm thankful for that came out of the year 2020. Toward the later half of 2020, I started to feel an overconfidence. Because of the success I had found, my mental state was overconfidence. It was arrogance. I was in these workshops and saw myself above everyone else because of the levels of success I had achieved at the time. And I didn't like that feeling. I didn't like that I could even think those things. I started to think of how can I make myself more accountable? Because if I don't feel accountable in these workshops, I have to find a new way to become accountable. And in August 2020, the podcast was born. And I have been coming at you once a week ever since then. In 2020, a total of 37 pounds was lost. So 2021 begins, and also with it comes the personal points plan. When the personal points plan is introduced in my life, everything seems fine. It didn't really affect me because when I built up this library of foods that are point friendly, it doesn't really matter what they do to their plan, because the foundation of food that I said that I liked simply just got applied to the next one. And maybe their points changed a little here and there, but not much. They were still good enough to lean on. And so that's what I did. I leaned on what I had created in 2019 to go forward into 2021. The personal points plan did unearth some demons in my life. One thing I struggled with from the very beginning was when I had a lot of points at the end of the night. Because when I first started on plan here, I was nearly 400 pounds when I walked into the studio. And my point allotment per day was 54 points. There were some nights of the week where I had 25, 30 points remaining at the end of the night. And then I would go crazy eating snacks with the other 30 points or 20 points or whatever it was. When my weight loss slowed down, I knew right away that, hey, listen, common sense tells me I can't be doing this. At the time, I chose to do this by eliminating 10 points from my daily allotment. That was in 2019. So instead of allowing myself to have 54 points, I just automatically made it 44 points. And I went from there. But this time, I knew it wouldn't work that way. Or it wasn't helping me to just eliminate it, because I still saw the number. And the number was bothering me on the screen, that it was available. So I started to use the quick add feature in a way that I never even thought to use it. So instead of tracking food that I did not eat, I tracked what I called breaking psychological barriers. And then what I did was I gave that line item however many points I needed to give it to get rid of the points from the screen so I wouldn't see them. Like a weight lifted off my chest, the points were gone, and the urge to eat was also gone. When we ended 2021, I had lost a total of 30 pounds. 2022 begins. My weight loss is seeming to slow down, and I don't really like that. So I decide that maybe I wanted to get a handle on the 0 point items. And I said I would do this by experimenting with, at the point where they created the diabetic plan, I would purposely answer the survey to become diabetic. This gave points to everything except for like lean protein and vegetables. So all of the fruit I was eating suddenly had a point value. I had to make some adjustments, and then the weight loss started again. We ended 2022, 27 pounds lost. During 2022, I hit a milestone of 150 pounds, and this was a wonderful time. But I noticed something that I didn't really like. When I hit the 150 mark, I noticed something about milestones that bothered me a little bit. I've been in a weird place lately, and I didn't realize it at the time, but my why, the reason I started this whole thing, inadvertently put me in this weird feeling that I've been having. I'm going to get more into that after the break. Don't go anywhere. I now present to you the Ranting Weight Watcher Accountability Creed. If you choose this day to say this creed, you are accountable to me, the author. You are also accountable to all of those before you who have taken the creed, and all of those after you who will take the creed. But most of all, you are accountable to yourself. Now recite with me the Accountability Creed. Nothing can stand in my way because I choose to be unstoppable. My challenges crumble in my presence because I choose strength when I am weak. My insecurities have no power over my life because I choose confidence in the face of fear. I own every last one of my mistakes because I choose growth over mediocrity. The mirror and the scale are powerless because I move forward in spite of the result. Circumstances are not obstacles because I see solutions instead of problems. The demons of my past can no longer torment me because I choose to renew my mind daily. All things are possible as long as I believe, because if God is for me, who can be against me? This is the creed I declare each day. It is about what I do, not what I say. I will learn the work that needs to be done. I will never stop, even when I've won. I will work consistently, no matter the cost. I refuse to believe that all hope is lost. I will work when I want to. I will work when I don't. I will work when they are cheering. I will work when they won't. I will work when it's easy. I will work when it's hard. The atonements that I've made are made with no regard. I will work when it's cold. I will work when it's hot, because choices have consequences, justified or not. When I think I know it all, I will start back at one, because regardless of what I think, the work is never done. And from this moment forward, when times are tough, I choose to believe that I am enough. And now it's time for Random Facts You Didn't Know You Needed to Know with the Ranting Weight Watcher. Today's random fact is a fact about New Year's resolutions. An average of 44% of Americans make a New Year's resolution before that night is over. Only 31% of people stick with their promises that they made themselves the prior year, a whopping 80% fail by February. The 4 most popular types of goals people set are to exercise, eat well, lose weight, and save money. If you're wondering why I read this random fact, I have a fear of reading aloud that I am battling. And the random fact segment went away for a little while, but it's back. And so if you want to participate in this random fact, you could send me anything. Just keep it clean to the rantingweightwatcher@gmail.com, and just in the subject line, put random fact or fun fact, something like that, so I know not to open it until right at the moment that I'm going to read it. So if you guys wish to participate, please send in a random fact or a fun fact today so I can battle this fear of reading aloud. Now, without any further delay, let's get back to the show. And we are back. Thanks for sticking with me. Started off with some reflections to start the podcast off here. And I want to come to some mental things I've been going through lately. Things in my head. Something I noticed about hitting a milestone goal. And first I want to tell you about my why. I started this whole journey because I noticed some parallels between my life and my father's life. My father died at 44 years old. I was 17 years old when he died. I noticed some parallels. Now, the reason he died is not something that I have to worry about. But there are other things I noticed. We are the same height. We are basically the same weight. He never got as heavy as I did. So my heaviest is worse than him. But currently, even still now, I am down 150 pounds. I am still close to where he was. There's not much difference in body type between me and my father. It even is as crazy as me and my father both had a scar going down the length of our stomach, from chest to belly button. We both have that same scar. Now, my father's reasons for having that scar are very different for my reasons. But it's funny when they say, if you don't understand history, you're doomed to repeat it. You could take that and apply it to anything, but it doesn't have to be exact. Here, I'm telling you that there are parallels between mine and my father's life. All I wanted to do was make sure I didn't die at 44 years old. I didn't want to leave my daughter because me at 17, it was difficult for me. But if I had died at 44, my daughter is 10. And that's this year. That's the 2022, I turned 44. And so everything became about improving my life. Now, I had made this realization back in 2019, obviously, and I was 41 at the time. Everything has been about not following the same path as my father. No matter how differently we may be, still there were so many parallels that I just didn't like it. It scared me. Simple as that. As I worked so hard to get to this point where I'm 157 pounds down, I noticed something about milestone goals. I noticed that, and it really doesn't matter the number, right? So it doesn't matter that it's 20 pounds milestone or 150 pounds milestone. It doesn't matter. In your head, there's this, as you approach these milestones, there is this perceived notion of how it will feel when you get there. And it's built up so much in your mind. that when you get there, you realize that it's not what you thought it would be. It's not as grand as you thought it would be. I mean, yeah, it's good, but it's not as grand as you thought. The moment doesn't feel. The only way I can compare it to is if you've ever seen the movie or the show Say Yes to the Dress. You have women that go into these bridal shops, they try on a dress, and they won't choose the dress no matter how good they look in it because it didn't make them cry. They didn't have that heartfelt moment that they see so many other people have when they choose their dress. So it's sort of the same thing. You build up the moment of the milestone so much in your head that when you get there, the reality of the milestone, number one, it's over like Christmas, okay? On Christmas morning, you go downstairs, there's a bunch of presents under the tree, Santa came, you're like flipping out, the presents get unwrapped, and in like 30 seconds, Christmas is over. And that's the same thing as hitting a milestone goal. There's a crazy celebration for all of 10 minutes, and then it's over. And all of the grand emotions you thought you would feel, maybe they didn't come. At least for me, they didn't. Imagining myself hitting 150 and then actually hitting 150 were two very different things. There were times where I didn't want to walk, and I was out there pushing myself and imagining the moment that I would step on the scale and it would mean the 150 milestone. And tears were in my eyes because as much as I didn't want to be out there, that 150 milestone meant more to me. But then I hit the 150 milestone and it just wasn't the same. Here I am, one day before my birthday. As I'm approaching this day, I realize, inadvertently, without intending to, I turned my birthday into a milestone. Turning 45 became a milestone goal without me intending it to become a milestone. Because I started my entire journey with the premise that I would outlive my father. And in the process, I turned my 45th birthday, which is tomorrow, into a milestone goal. And the same feeling that I had the day I have hit basically every milestone I've hit from beginning to now, that same feeling where it's not all as it's cracked up to be, has now applied to my birthday. And it is now kind of, I'm in this weird position where I don't even feel like celebrating it. Because this whole idea, how I started this entire journey, maybe it's only that important to me. And maybe it's not that big a deal. And in turn, it has made my birthday not that big a deal. I'm not saying I'm right. I never intended this to happen. This was the unintentional milestone. I know one thing. I know that I have to quickly remove my birthday. Disconnect. However this became a milestone, I have to disconnect it quickly. Because every birthday after this is going to seem like not a big deal. And I have been using these last 3 weeks to really analyze myself and really try to understand how I was feeling about this. Why was I feeling? And it wasn't until recent that I really discovered I turned my birthday into a milestone. It was like a revelation I had just a few days ago. Now I know I have to remove it. It cannot be together. They cannot be together. Otherwise, I'm doing all my future birthdays to be not a big deal. Because that's literally how I felt on the days, minutes after being handed that charm. When all was said and done and I'm going home, didn't seem like a big deal anymore. The 150, the 125, the 100, the 75. Minutes after opening them, telling people, it no longer felt like a big deal anymore. And I know that cannot be attached to my birthday. That same feeling cannot be attached to my birthday. It was pretty recent. I listened to some motivational speakers on a regular basis. The majority of the motivational speakers I listen to, they're not even talking about fitness. They're talking about being an entrepreneur and making money. But what they say can easily be applied to fitness. When I look back and I reflected on all the years, I realized that there are so many things I learned this time around. When I started in January 2019, I had hopes and aspirations that I would get to my weight loss goal. But because of how many times I had failed, now if you don't know this, if you are new here and you haven't gone back to episode 1, I failed gastric bypass also. And if you really want to know the whole story, you go back to episode 1 and find out how deep did I have to really go to hit rock bottom. In 2019, when I look back of all the things I had encountered and all the things I overcame, each one preparing me for the next obstacle. I often tell people that there are levels in our healthy weight loss journey quest, and each level we achieve is harder than the previous one. If we think about it, the milestones, these charms that Weight Watchers gives out, if we think of each one of those as the evidence that we achieved what was necessary to learn to get to that milestone, each one gets harder. And as you could see, first year, 63-pound lost. Second year, 37-pound lost. Third year, 30-pound lost. And now 27-pound lost in the build-up to the fourth year. It's the only way I can explain it to you. People are afraid of failing. I've said it before on this podcast, and if you're new here, failing is as necessary as success. As a matter of fact, you cannot have success without failing. People think of failure as the end of something. It is not. As a matter of fact, it is just the point of the exact lesson you are needing to learn. If you fail by eating emotionally, or if you fail by eating late at night and you don't want to eat late at night, whatever the case may be, and if you do this on a regular basis, the lesson you need to learn is how to analyze whatever's going on that causes you to want to eat late at night or to want to eat emotionally or whatever have you. And then when you figure out what is causing it, to make the necessary adjustments so that it never happens. The same way, I would never wait until I was hungry to make a decision to eat. When I developed that, that was my obstacle at that time. All of these things I had to develop to battle something. I had to learn how to deal with being home all the time. And while everybody was sitting there gaining weight on COVID, I managed to lose because I found a way to cope with it. When personal points came into my life, changing things, bringing back old demons that used to haunt me, I found a new way to deal with it to progress me forward. When we fail, that is the lesson that needs to be learned to get to the next level. And having spent that time in the beginning of this episode reflecting, I can see that all of these lessons made me who I am now. And like these motivational speakers say, it is not about what you will achieve. It's not about the end result. It's about the man or woman you're becoming in the process. The scale result is not the milestone. The person you're becoming is the milestone. Look, do I have all the answers? No, not by any means do I have all the answers. I have never been the one man in the room that has it all figured out. If anything, I'm like your lab partner, sitting in class right next to you week after week after week, trying to find the way just like you. So let's think about this logically for a second. Everything we've been taught is just the tip of the iceberg. It's just enough information to get us started on this journey. It was never meant to get us to our goal. It is up to us to figure out the rest of the things we need to do to get there. And we can keep doing these things over and over and over again, everything we've been taught the exact same way. We could keep hitting the exact same failure point every time and then start over again. Or, for once in our life, we can learn the lesson that failure has been trying to teach us all of this time and finally make it to the next level. Because that's what it's all about. Everything we've been encountering all of this time, every failure point, every struggle, every shortcoming in our lives is there for a purpose. It is to teach us our lesson that we need to learn, because we have to go through the fire to get to where we want to be, because the person we are now cannot be at our goal. We have to do everything necessary to become the person that we need to become in order to get to the goals we need to achieve. Nothing was ever going to be handed to us. Nothing was ever going to be easy. Do what is easy and your life will be hard. Do what is hard and your life will be easy. That's what it's about. That's what we've been doing since the beginning of this whole thing. Are you with me? I'm done being part of the 98% that fails. I'm heading for the 2% that succeeds. And I want to take you with me. I got my hand out. Let's do this together. Let's conquer this once and for all and become the version of ourselves we always were meant to become. I love each and every one of you. God bless you all.